Whoa.
One more
Welcome
time.
to the Brothers of Dynasty live edition. Getting used to StreamYard here. I'm not Josh Christensen. I'm Jay Christensen. I am hosting tonight. Josh is away. He's in Disney World. He's having fun down there. And I'm taking over hosting duties tonight. We've got a guest in the house. We all have Andrew Christensen with us. As always, though, you could find him at DrewC_music. Andrew, how you doing tonight? I know you're probably not drinking anything, New Year's resolutions and all, but what are we doing?
The big hydro flask here. So, yeah, keeping hydrated nonetheless. But, yeah, doing good. After this, what would we call this? The Black Monday or whatever. All the firings, all the news of that coming out. So, it's a lot to take in.
Oh, yeah. Lots of firings going on, which means there'll be a lot of hirings going on this offseason. But we got filling in for Josh tonight. We have special guest. He's been on the show before, Shane Barrett at FFShaneB. We usually do a plug for the collective here, but I'm going to throw it to you, Shane, to plug all your stuff, all the things that you're involved in. And you are the co-founder of the collective. That's collective with a K. And we are part of that network of podcasts. So welcome in, Shane. Thanks for joining us. Tell us all about all the things you got going on.
Yeah, thanks, man. So first off, thanks for having me on. Second, I am co-founder of the collective, where we're just trying to give people like you guys and others a collective area, really or figuratively, to create content and for us to boost that out. We've got some pretty ambitious goals, I think, coming up in 2022 and beyond to expand outside of fantasy football alone. You've probably seen some of that with like collective bets and whatnot, so go follow them on Twitter. Also, I'm the host of the Fantasy Nightcap podcast, which is also on our collective podcast network. That comes out typically 3 times a week in about 30-minute segments. We'll probably change a little bit over the off season. I've already got one super huge guest booked, and I'm excited. So make sure you like and subscribe on your preferred podcasting network. Thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, check all that stuff out. That's a great tease there. A special guest coming up. Big guest. I'm excited. I can't wait. I don't know who that is. I'm going to have to ask you offline to get to some secrets.
That's always the nice thing when you're the people on there and you feel like, we'll talk after the pod.
Tell me let us know. Who is it?
But no one listening gets
it's not me. I'm disappointed it's not me. I'm a pretty big guest.
That's what you were thinking. Is it me?
We do need to have you on to the nightcap.
I know. I am, like I said, Jay Christensen. You can find me at JAYC_.
What are you drinking, Jay?
I am actually drinking because I have not sworn off drinking like everybody else that I know. I'm drinking tonight Moat Mountain Brewing. This is a Clockwork Mandarina, which is a New England style pale ale. It's got the clockwork orange kind of symbol there, which is kind of cool. That's what drew me to the can. I'm like, I remember that movie. That movie is fucked up. I don't know what was going on in that movie. But I remember watching it in college, and it's basically like you're on drugs while watching it the whole time. Because
it's a lot. I feel like, couldn't they have just gone for the much closer pun on words of a hop work orange?
I feel like could have, but I mean, if you can do this as you can, I mean,
it keeps like the articulation there, but like,
sure,
they're like, but they're probably like, no, but there's a difference between oranges and Mandarin. Like, believe me, like as a brewer,
big difference.
We know the difference, so we'll keep our pun.
It's not orange. It's Mandarin. Yeah, it's definitely that.
More specific.
So Jay, a similar movie for me that was also very fucked up, I think, and I watched in college was Donnie Darko. I still have
nightmares. Requiem for a Dream.
That is a dark movie.
There's a lot of in that bit where you're like
Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
It's messed up.
That is a messed up.
Clockwork Orange is just like I don't even know what was going on. Like it's just a lot. That's a lot of weird stuff. Really weird. Don't have fun. I wouldn't want to watch that movie again. I was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good with that. One time with Clockwork Orange, I'm out. Yes. Anyway, enough about movies. We're not the brothers of movies. We are the brothers of Dynasty. Tonight, what we're going to be doing for you, we're going to go back in time 1 year ago, the 2021 rookie class. We're going to redo a mock draft of that class, but knowing what we know now. Obviously, this class was a great class. They played this year. So we're going to redraft it, knowing that we get year one production from them, but also projecting these guys into the future. So a little bit kind of where you have them in your startup rankings, but you're also going to, you're going to know that, Amon-Ra St. Brown, went off for the Lions this year. And Trevor Lawrence disappointed a little bit. And Josh isn't on the show tonight, so if we want to shit on Trevor Lawrence, we get to, because
I know I will.
He is the resident Trevor Lawrence defender. He is, if you follow him on Twitter, that's all he's ever going to talk about ever again. But
he owns Trevor Lawrence, and he went up and buying him at a
he
discount.
I traded him Trevor Lawrence in a league. It's great.
Every league you're in, he has Lawrence now.
But that's way more Trevor Lawrence talk than I probably even wanted to do up front here. But I want to get a couple news items out of the way. We talked about the firings here. So just real quick, wanted to touch on some of the news. So coach firings that happened basically between yesterday and today. We have about 5 new firings. We had Vic Fangio out on Denver, Mike Zimmer fired in for the Minnesota Vikings, Matt Nagy out in Chicago. Surprise with Brian Flores in Miami. That was a big surprise. He is out there. And then finally, Joe Judge. He was removed tonight as Giants head coach. He was the one who probably deserved it the most, probably out of those, but maybe him or Nagy. Yeah, those are probably the ones that you expected, but Joe Judge finally happened. So that leaves 7 teams without coaches at this point, if you count the Jaguars, who fired Urban Meyer earlier this year, and then also the Raiders, who had the whole Gruden situation going on. My question, quick, I'll throw it to you first, Andrew. What one of these vacancies here intrigues you the most for fantasy purposes?
Yeah, and we were talking before the pod, and I was almost leaning towards the Chicago with Matt Nagy and Brian Flores in Miami type situations, because there's a lot of players, young players up and coming, that I want to see a good administration come in to help them. But actually, on second glance, I feel like I have to go with Vic Fangio, because being more a defensive-minded coach, I feel like that was a very underperforming offense in Denver. There is a lot of talent on that team with, as we know, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Patrick too. We'll add him in. He's done good. Tight ends Fant and Albert O, and then obviously your boy there, Javonte and Melvin Gordon. Yeah. And then even let's say Teddy Bridgewater at the front. I know he's not good. I think in the end he is more of a very, very good backup. He was someone who we discussed was able to support multiple wide receivers in Carolina. So why can't he do it with just as good, if not maybe a little bit better offense around him? It doesn't really make much sense. So I'm looking for a better offensive mind to come in there who knows what to do to get the most out of all the talents there. And maybe that'll mean another quarterback coming in. Maybe I don't know what the path they'll take, but I expect one way or another they're going to get more than they got out of that offense this year, and I think that means the most for fantasy based on the turnovers we've seen so far.
Yeah, and as long as it means more Javonte Williams, that's all I care about there. Yeah, whoever goes in, which probably means more. That has more to do with Melvin Gordon probably not being there than anything else. But you got Denver. You like that there, Shane, or you like any of these other situations?
Pick, Andrew, golf clap.
Oh, thank you. They
do probably have the most potential on that team.
Yeah, so I would be shocked if they don't have some type of offensive reboot in Denver. I agree with you, Drew. I think Teddy Bridgewater is a serviceable QB.
He can get it done,
as a starter for fantasy. Yeah, exactly. He had Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, and
Curtis Samuel.
Thank you, Curtis Samuel.
Yeah.
That were all wide receiver 3s and borderline wide receiver 2s when he was QB in Carolina. So, yeah, I really like that pick. Just to change it up a bit, though, I'm going to go with the Vikings. And, God, that pains me to say that. But they've got, obviously, Justin Jefferson and Thielen. Thielen will be 32, I think, and coming off an injury. But I'm not really worried about that because he seems to still be producing. And then KJ Osborne is an breakout wide receiver. Irv Smith's coming back. Tyler Conklin's looked good. and then they've got Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison, which there may be some toss-up legal situations with Dalvin in the offseason that you want to pay attention to. So I'm going to pick Minnesota as my most fantasy relevant outside of Denver.
Yeah, it'd be interesting too. Zimmer, more of a defensive-minded coach there
Yep.
too. He was there a long time, longer. Was it 8 years? It seemed like he's been there only a short time and also forever for some reason. I don't know. It seems like he's been there forever, but also not. That team just always always underachieved a bit. It's just not that they always had, the great, Cousins he is what he is. He's like a,
he was
slightly
QB9
above average
in
quarterback
fantasy this year.
It's great for fantasy. It just seems like there's always something more that team could give in some ways.
Yeah.
Maybe more from the winning perspective, probably. But like, there's something missing there that I think they'll be looking for with their next era of coach.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting that players like Kirk Cousins has been able to sleepwalk to a QB1 type performance, and that Justin Jefferson was wildly I don't know that he pulled any bad weeks, finishing as QB4 somewhere around there. We've had some good fantasy performances out of that, so it hasn't been a complete loss over there, but I'd like to see what maybe like a better administration coming in or better coaching comes in.
Yeah.
And maybe that does translate more to real NFL actual wins, because you look at that team, you're like, I feel like they should be pushing a little more.
Defense is typically the problem.
Yeah, they're very underperforming.
Defensive-minded coach that the defense was pretty bad for the last 3 years at least.
Their
they had
secondary
an indictment.
They were good for a little bit, and then not good anymore. But I like those two picks there. It'll be interesting in all of these for any fantasy relevant players here. Coaching matters, so it does. If you want stability, like I think that's something that's almost underrated. Anytime we project rookies, we're like, oh man, Pittsburgh would be a great fit, or we're like, oh, the Chiefs, or even New England, even though some fantasy players don't always hit there. But the organizations are stable. The coaches have been there a long time. They know what they're doing. Like the GMs are like, these are organizations where players can kind of flourish. Like guy goes to Jacksonville, you're immediately like, oh my God, like do they even know what they're doing there? Who are they going to hire? So these things do matter in terms of like who lands here, and there are some probably offensive-minded guys, that'll be interesting if they get a shot. Guys like Brian Dable, Leftwich, Bieniemy, where they haven't had shots yet. So it'll be interesting when those offensive guys find a spot and how those offenses change. Second news item, quick, just because we have Shane on the show, we'll do this real quick. Baker, your boy. I throw this to you. Report that Brown's sticking with him, which makes sense, I think, to a degree, because he's under contract next year in 2022. He has not been signed long term to the Browns. Obviously, a rough season for him, banged up. I want to say, I want to throw it to you to say defend Baker, but talk to me about his dynasty value at this point. Obviously, he's obviously not where he was before. Do you see him on the Browns past next year, and how do you view him in dynasty going forward? Is he a stable asset, or are you concerned as being a Baker guy?
I think I'm buying right now. I definitely think he's a buy, because even if he's not on the Browns in 2022, I think he's worthy of a starting position in the NFL. I don't know if he's ever going to be Josh Allen, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, but I think he can be a serviceable QB. I still think he's got QB1 upside with the right situation. And that's my biggest thing from a Browns offseason standpoint. I tweeted it out. I got blown up for it. But I think they need to draft a true wide receiver one. And everyone was like, well, Odell.
I did hear some Garrett Wilson rumors, which I don't know how I felt about that.
That is, that he has been mocked there so far.
I also was surprised to hear that people were doing mock drafts already, because this was before any draft order had been established.
Oh, they start that
I know, but I find it so funny. I mean, I love it, but it's just
Dad agrees.
Yeah.
Our dad's it's lighting up the chat.
For me, anything that spurs football talk is great, but it still feels like there's so much missing information. The mathematical part of me is just like, this is a bad equation.
So they get a receiver, Shane. Can he be a, I don't know, fringe QB1 next year? Like, what's his upside next year, I guess?
I mean, I thought it was his upside this year, honestly, but he was hurt. Chubb got hurt. Kareem Hunt got hurt. Jarvis Landry was coming off a major surgery. Odell was coming off a major surgery.
OBJ, bad situation there. Yeah.
OBJ was just a bad situation. I feel like the whole Browns this year dealt with more injuries than they did last year, which is saying something because their offensive line was banged up last year too. But I think if they get him a true wide receiver one to pair with Jarvis and DPJ and Njoku, Hooper, Chubb, and Hunt, I think he's got QB1 upside. Just got to keep him upright and healthy.
Yeah, he's interesting in Dynasty just because I think his value is at the lowest point, probably.
It's the
lowest it at. I don't think it can get any lower, so he's got to be a buy in a way because it's like you could get him for the cheapest price that you could have gotten.
Yeah, if you've got him, you're probably holding him.
And he has to be a hold because there's nothing you can do with him there. So, like, he's at least looks like he's going to be on that team next year. He's a guy who probably gets another shot just because of draft capital, pedigree, and things like that. So he's a guy, in fantasy that even if he doesn't stay with the Browns, he might bop around a little bit where he lands and gets another job. And, you never know. So I don't mind him as a buy, although I'm not a huge Baker guy, and I think he's probably. QB2 is probably his thing for the rest of however long he plays. But definitely his probably hit bottom, hopefully, for him, for his purposes. Hopefully this is the bottom.
If you've got a basement, he's probably 50 feet below the basement for his price right now. So you can probably get him really, really cheap.
For sure.
He is in the burial ground underneath the base.
Yes.
this secret grave site that you didn't know about when you bought the house. That's where Baker resides right now. Yeah.
It's a horror movie.
Anyways, I'll spare you any more Baker talk. I know it's probably painful for you, Shane, but let's move on. Let's get into last year's rookies. I mean, we're in rookie fever right now for a 2022 class, but before we get to that class on our shows, which we'll be doing plenty of content on then, let's redo last year's rookie draft. We're going to kick things off. This is Superflex style, so quarterbacks will be important here, obviously. We'll say tight end premium too, just in case. There's only a couple relevant tight ends here, but we will go as long as, I don't know, if we get 2 rounds in, we'll do it. I'll cut it if I think this is getting too long, but maybe we'll get through 2 rounds. Maybe not. I don't know. Who knows? We're going to go Andrew, Shane, me. So, Andrew, take it away with 101 2021 rookie class.
Yep. I'm immediately going to shake things up by changing from that consensus 101, and I am going to go with Jamar Chase. And that being for the reason that I think based on he had high draft stock last year, obviously coming in as the 5th overall pick in the 2021 draft. The Cincinnati Bengals obviously loved him. And I think in most of our rookie drafts, he was kind of in that top 7 type range. There were a lot of those quarterbacks pushing him down. And, we had thoughts maybe he'd be like this wide receiver 1. Who knows what's going to happen with the year he took off. There were different questions. Even in preseason, we saw some of the drops. We've covered a lot of that, but I think among all the players in this class, he is the one who has proven right away that he is something special. He is pretty much just knocking out records in pushing the expectations for wide receivers in their rookie year. He finished in PPR as the number 5 overall, just behind his former teammate, Justin Jefferson. And that was about 304 fantasy points. So, nearly, let's say 81 receptions for 1,455 yards, 13 touchdowns. So he was just lights out this year. And when you watch him, you can see that he's something special. His ability to track the ball and make big plays, get downfield, or when he's just catching over the middle in his ability to manipulate in space, make something happen, and then possibly take it to the house. He's someone who can just do everything, and he can do it exceptionally well. And I feel like he is going to be a wide receiver 1 for years to come. And I know quarterback is king in Superflex, but I'm going to have to go with him because I just feel like he's so special.
I can't fault you there. I would go Chase.
No notes.
101. Shane, would you do the same, or are you a quarterback guy at 101?
Exactly where I was going. Even in Superflex, that was a great pick, Andrew. Yeah, absolutely love that pick. So, and there was some. I just had a brain fart. There was a stat that I was gonna read off, but now I don't remember what it was. But yeah, great pick. Are you ready for me to go number 2?
Yeah, just an absolute monster this year. What do you got at 102, Shane?
Okay,
now that
so
Chase is off the board.
Making it tight end premium made this a little bit harder. Is it gonna let me edit it? It's not letting me edit. But that's fine. I'm gonna go Naji Harris.
Nice.
So the reason for that is A, I love running backs. B, his volume is exactly what we predicted and expected, and I don't know exactly where he finished in PPR for running backs, but I know it was top 10, possibly even top 5. I think in the offseason they're going to – I mean, obviously Big Ben's retiring, or at least not going to be on the Steelers. And they should improve their offensive line, which will only help Naji. And if they do go with a rookie quarterback, running back's going to be his best friend. So I'm going with Naji Harris here at the 102.
Nice. Yeah, he was third in total points PPR.
Okay.
So that's where he ended up there.
Well, he gets such a high floor from that pass catching.
Yeah.
Average points was a little further down, but from total points he was right there at third. And yeah,
is it because Derrick Henry beat him in average points?
Right, probably. Yeah. Well, yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, probably CMC.
Yeah,
but volume
Jay,
was insane.
I feel like I gift wrapped your third pick for you. Potentially, we'll see.
My third pick, yeah, I don't have to move my guy. At 103, I have I love Naji too. I mean, the top of this class is still just fantastic because we haven't picked a quarterback yet, and there's still tons of upside there. I'm going to go Pitts. Kyle Pitts, tight end premium here is going to be my third pick. I had him at 2 just because I think he was special, even though he was almost a little underrated the season he had this year. Hey, he underperformed even though he got over 1,000 yards. And
he pretty quietly put together a really good season.
68 receptions, almost broke Ditka only did it in, 14 games, the tight end record for yards, but he almost got to that. He scored 1 touchdown. That was the problem. 1 touchdown this year. And honestly, anytime I watch the Falcons, I felt like you could have tried to force the ball more to him. I don't know what was going on there. I felt like there was lacking.
Matt Ryan in the end zone or in the red zone has been just confusing to me. He's had Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley.
Julio did the same thing.
Pitts.
1 touchdown 1 year for Julio too. It's like,
how do you do that with that talent and that size? I don't get it.
And there were kind of aberrations at least for Julio's career. It was kind of a stretch right there where he had low touchdown totals, but the 1 stood out in 1 year. It's just it doesn't make any sense. These guys are monsters. I don't know what, throw up 2 jump balls a game to these guys. I've seen people throw up jump balls to half the receivers of some of these guys. And I think if this was the low point of Kyle Pitts' career, then my God, he's going to be fantastic. And it shows. He's a wide receiver at tight end, which is just an advantage there. It was a play a couple of games ago. He got it in space, and it was this doesn't make any sense. This guy's a freak. Yeah. So I love Kyle Pitts. And
can I ask you a quick question?
Things are going to be better in the future. Go ahead, Shane.
Do you guys think Ryan is back in Atlanta next year?
I'm going to say no, but I think Matt Ryan will be elsewhere. That's my guess. His contract's tricky, right? He gets paid a lot of money. So that's the problem, but I think it makes sense. I think they need I think there's teams that need a veteran like him, and Atlanta doesn't need a veteran like him. I think this.
Yeah, they're kind of stuck in the middle right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would ESPN ran a story where he makes sense in Pittsburgh, which makes sense to me. It's just like but really any team that could potentially contend.
He makes a lot of sense in Denver.
Sure, yeah. There's a lot of spots he would make sense, but not in Atlanta. So I do think he moves on, but it'll be interesting because it'll also be interesting who they bring in. This rookie class is interesting at QB, not exactly glaring options there. There's options, but they're not necessarily 100% hits. But we'll see. That's an interesting team this year. But right now I would say I think Matt Ryan will be elsewhere next year. Andrew, I'll throw it to you if you got your point, and then take it away with
I think I made the joke to you the other day. Why don't they just trade with Tampa Bay for Kyle Trask and get him there? He knows how to throw it to Pitts.
He does.
Yeah, he does know. All right, at 4, I could let the hate continue to go on, but I'll take Trevor Lawrence here as a steal at number 4. Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, so still being the first overall quarterback in the draft, his capital seems to spell out that whether he does he's done poorly this year, or if he kind of is continuing to develop next year, it's he's going to be a quarterback who work is going to be put into. I do think they made a good first step by getting rid of Urban Meyer. That's great. We're going to see another full-time coach there. I do think there's more to go on, because I think there's some coaches that are shying away from even looking there because the general manager, Balky, is it? Some people Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think he's another that folks are looking to clear house on him as well, to kind of open more up for just a full administrative change. But one way or another, I think there's improvements coming to that organization. You have other good pieces there that he can work with, and if they kind of continue to build around him and actually invest in their first round pick, I don't see why I can't continue to value him as the prospect we did a year ago, coming in as that consensus 101. We know all the tools that he has. We have all the tape from the work he did in Clemson. And yeah, it's in the realm of possibility that he could be someone who just never takes off. It wouldn't be the first time a first round pick, highly touted quarterback busted out. But I think even in a bad situation, there were still some bright spots. And then he pulled out a pretty decent game in this last week, which is kind of a nice thing. All right, it's the last thing people remember is him pulling off a big win against Indianapolis. I don't think it was still that great, but it was a 19-point fantasy performance. But still, that's the last thing we have in our minds now. And that's probably a good place to leave it off on a relatively bad season. But I'm still going with the original take, probably airing closer to our brother Josh with Trevor Lawrence. So I'll take him here at 4 and feel pretty good about it.
Josh is screaming at his whatever he's listening to this pod on, or just streaming it. Why didn't he go 1? Trevor Lawrence, number 1. Yeah. He thinks we're all idiots.
Way too good.
And also, as bad as he still, it looks like in the end was quarterback 23, which feels like it's quarterback 2
in front of Baker.
Yeah,
I think.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
it's not the territory you want to be in. Both number 1 picks, though. I mean, they got that going.
Still QB2.
I know, but if the worst he could be is a low end QB2. I don't know.
If Jimmy G played 16, 17 games, he would have been higher than him, I think. But
I'm not averaging out the points. This is total points.
Total points. Shane, before your pick, any thoughts on Lawrence, and then to give us your 105?
No, I again love this pick. I wasn't sure where he was going to fall because of the trash talk that you guys were throwing out there pre-show. I would have loved to get him at 5, I think. But going at 4, I think is pretty accurate because of the value of Superflex and the potential that he does still have. So the coach is going to be very, very important. I said since day one, Urban Meyer was the worst possible hire for
terrible,
Lawrence.
Unbelievably terrible.
Yeah. But I still think like it was so much worse than we thought. We were like, that's probably.
Oh no, I knew it was gonna be.
Pretty shit. I mean, I feel like I just didn't know quite enough about Urban. I mean, heard this stuff, but like, I still feel like I'm like, we'll see. This is probably going to be garbage. He's going to impose some sort of preconceived thing there, but maybe the talent he has will still rise. But no, it was a unmitigated disaster. So
yeah, pretty bad.
Yep. So. 105. I am torn between two players here, and I think I'm going to gift Rap J another pick. I'm going to go
give it to me.
off the beaten path a little, I think, and go Jaylen Waddle.
Oh, I like
spicy.
it.
I like it. Yeah.
Explain. Yeah. So I just the way that Waddle's played all year has been phenomenal.
Broke the record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the chemistry that he and Tua have. I think the coach in Miami will be important for that as well. But I think Tua's a good quarterback. I don't know about you guys, but I think him having Waddle as a true wide receiver one, I think, is going to be huge for the future. And he's a huge person that I want in Dynasty if I can get him, but he's probably pretty pricey at this point. And then other mitigating factors that when you go, Jay, I'll probably explain because I have a feeling I know who you're going to take again.
Oh, well, we'll see. I'm torn. I'm kind of torn as well in some ways. But I mean, you took Lawrence. I think. I mean, I want to go to my guy, but I have it a different way. So I go Fields here. I'm going Justin Fields for Superflex here. I want to go with Javonte Williams just because I love Javonte. Maybe he'll fall to me at my next pick. He might not, but Waddle was interesting too because like I think Waddle's where like I think the top 8 for me at least were like super, and even go to 9 if I include Devonta Smith in mine. But Waddle's. I doubted Miami this year, just to speak on Waddle for a second, because I thought their offense wouldn't be that good. But man, that chemistry with Tua is just like special. Like that's
it's still Burrow, Jamar Chase level.
Yeah, and the same thing where those things really, really worked out this year. I think me and Andrew we were talking last week about does this become a trend? Like, do people try to find that? In the future?
Think they do. Yeah, I was saying that I don't know how much they considered that in the past, but I feel like with the absence of being able to see these guys as much as you'd like to in other draft years, coaches and teams had to go to other factors to sort of figure out who they wanted to pick and maybe go with safer picks. So I think one of those things that we saw was pairing up players and like teammates, people who already had sort of a built-in chemistry. And because we've sort of seen that be so successful, I wonder if they'll continue to do that, even though we're supposed to have a combine. There might be more access to players than there was previously, assuming we're going in the right direction with the pandemic numbers. So I'll be interested to see if they continue to push that type of thing. You mentioned, going with Fields. My thought was like, why not get Garrett Wilson there with Justin Fields and a new administration? I love the idea of pairing him up with another guy. So now you have things open up for Mooney too, as that like wide receiver too, which I think is a preferred role for him. And you have a true number one like Wilson and familiar with Fields. I love the idea of something like that.
Because
that would be great for
the Browns.
They can have Olave.
I'm fine if Fields, Olave has to end up somewhere too. But yeah, Fields for me, regardless of, I mean, that would be great getting him another wide receiver next year. I would be shocked if Allen Robinson is involved next year.
I am assuming
he
Robinson's
should be moving on.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be nice. I don't know if Mooney was great this year. I would prefer to see other receivers in the mix there too, because I don't know if he's a true one. Although those stats are really good, I would like to see someone else there for that offense. And Fields, for me, from the fantasy perspective, really is the rushing floor that I think he can provide. I was looking at him. I know Lawrence ran a little bit this year. It wasn't like he was really like used as a rusher. He had like 72 attempts Fields had the same amount of attempts. Basically, I think he had one less or one
fewer
more
games, though.
and way less, way less opportunities because he was in and out of games with some injuries, missed like 5-6 games. So this is a guy that he'll even probably be used more there. And his best fantasy output this year was that game he had over 10 rushes and really blew up, had a touchdown, had a fantastic run. I think that was against San Francisco, if I'm not mistaken. That's what you want to see from Justin Fields, and I think he can provide. I think he's a little bit more of that hybrid where he can do both, and that rushing floor that he can provide is going to be pretty high. So I still like him going forward, and I'd take him here at 106 easily. Andrew, take it away with 107.
Yeah, I'm taking Javonte.
Yeah.
Your boy. Got him. Now,
No way he was falling back to me, but
yeah, I actually have him and Devonta Smith like real close here. So I feel like it was almost like a 60-40 type thing. But no, Javonte, when he got the chances to kind of play in the absence of Melvin Gordon or on the right game, the split went his way. He was able to just demonstrate all the things that we saw.
Josh is here. He's in the chat.
Which one? The first 3 picks that didn't go with Trevor Lawrence, or me not going with Devonta Smith over Javonte Williams? Josh said he hates it all. Hates everything. There. Josh is on vacation and he's taking the time. I appreciate it.
He's on Space Mountain right now, and
yeah, he's Javonte is great. He showed us all the things that we saw on tape, whether it was his just physicality, contact, balance, and strength, and just all around skill as a runner. I feel like evaluation of him was spot on, and I'm looking forward to seeing things open up more for him if Melvin Gordon is to go somewhere else. I feel like there's other places that could use a veteran running back that could kind of work into another such committee. I think good things are ahead for Javonte, super talented, and a super talent at super value at 107.
Yeah, Javonte is the 101 in my heart, so that I just want to
yeah.
Shane,
and that's the race that matters.
that is the race. Him and Debo are 101 and 102.
Wow, that's a very interesting pair there.
Debo is my favorite player in the whole league.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Love Debo.
Your true favorite.
He is my true favorite. Yes. Shane, interesting picks left here. There's some interesting guys here. What are you gonna do here at 8?
I think I'm gonna go chalk. What I think is chalk. Who knows? And go Devonta Smith.
Yes.
So the kid can play. Won the Heisman. Clearly, is a talented player. And then we saw it in the NFL. Oh, he's too skinny. Bullshit. That kid can play.
Did Josh give you no
BMI?
BMI. No. I just.
Josh defended that like hard. That was his thing before Trevor Lawrence. That was the horse that Josh really.
BMI,
yeah. He just
BMI.
hated the BMI. He hated the BMI crowd, and he loves Devonta.
I don't care. Like.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's bullshit. Like who cares about that? Yeah. The guy can get open, separate.
Like, can you play?
Yeah. That's the important part. I think he's end up being one of the best separators in the league by the time his career is over, and that is going to help. Thanks, Josh. That is going to help Jalen Hurts if Jalen is still the quarterback. I think he should be.
He should be.
And then if they do move on from Jalen, it's going to help whoever they do have there because he is an excellent route runner and separator, and that's what matters. Okay, hold on. Before we go back to you, I have to tell you why I didn't pick Justin Fields. I literally just don't believe the kid.
You don't believe in him?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Just out?
I don't know.
Hey, no. Hey.
I've been out the whole time. The preseason made me kind of tilt back, and then him. I'm trying to give him more time, like everyone needs to with him and with Lawrence, and even Zach Wilson a little bit. And
they all looked lost to various degrees. I will say that.
Yes, but I think Fields' rushing floor will keep him in a starting role longer than maybe his arm talent will. I feel like he holds the ball too long and sticks on his receivers sometimes, and that if he doesn't improve that, he's going to get caught.
That was kind of part of his evaluation too. I remember coming out, sticking on would stay on his first read too long, hold the ball too long. So yeah, that's definitely something he can't get away with. Trevor Lawrence, it's kind of been just bad decision making. It's kind of gotten to him this year. Lots of turnovers. Zach Wilson, kind of same thing. It seemed like the game speed caught up to him, where
I feel like Zach.
And then Lance, we haven't seen enough to probably complete. But he's looked like very inexperienced quarterback, also, which makes sense for a guy who played in the second step down
State.
And played for pretty much 1 year. I mean, that's what we're talking about here. But small sample size for kind of all those quarterbacks in some ways. Besides Lawrence played a lot, but Fields didn't have a ton of starts. But yeah, this class makes you reevaluate. And me and Andrew were talking about this before you came on. And I'm in flux with it too, just how we value the quarterback in Superflex, especially in this situation here. And it happens in startups too, where you're in a board where I love the quarterback, but I feel like you need to rein it in a little bit when you have some of the talent that you can get in lieu of the quarterback in certain spots. And I think this draft class is I really have a solid tier here. I have no problem reaching down to even Devonta Smith through 9 here. If you take any of those guys over the quarterbacks, can't fault you. Those are, I think, special players. Yeah. And the quarterbacks haven't totally proven it yet. If they do, then yes, they are a better value in Superflex, but they're still in flux, where I think there's question marks there. We're going to see how it shakes out, but right now I still have to kind of go with the projection of greatness.
Yeah. No, I just did
potentially what I'm seeing,
Yeah, totally. I just did a dynasty startup mock that ended today, and my first 3 picks were Jonathan Taylor, Stephon Diggs, and CeeDee Lamb. I don't think I touched a quarterback until I took the 3rd rookie pick because I was planning on taking a quarterback with that. And then I took Baker and Jameis.
Right. Yeah. So you're playing a little. Yeah. I think that strategy is viable more than some people would like to make you think in Superflex. I think there's exploitable parts. There's a balance where I think it can go too far. But if I'm not getting one of the top, I think there's 6 once you go through. Yeah. Maybe Burrow-ish, or probably more Lamar up. I'm
Mahomes, Allen, Kyler's,
Herbert,
Lamar, Burrow, Dak. Did I say Murray yet?
Oh yeah,
if
Dak.
Not Murray.
Yeah. It's 6, 7 guys, 6, 7, and then 8, beyond that, you're gonna. It's all right. I'm in territories where I can take other guys. So it's just. But the same thing happens here in rookie, especially this rookie class where you had 5 quarterbacks that were, top. I'm
not gonna tell you what pick I picked out of though.
Yeah, I won't even ask, but Taylor, that might have been the 101.
I hope so.
102. There you go. Yeah. Well, you weren't going to get him on the way back. I'll tell you that.
No, absolutely
not. Going to be there. So, but I don't fault you for that.
Yeah, and to further our conversation, it's a lot of time. All those quarterbacks sort of land at the top of these rookie draft projections with sort of the thought of, all the years that you could possibly get. And I feel like it's much easier in Superflex to start projecting all of those fine stats on there. And it'd be great to have a quarterback who's slots into your roster for 15 years. You pick the Tom Brady or the Drew Brees or someone like that who you're still on the tail end of in Tom Brady's case. That's really nice, but that doesn't always translate to their production necessarily. That could be more akin to another quarterback. You could be picking someone who gives you 10 years, but they're a quarterback 2, and you can't tell me a quarterback 2 isn't gettable if you need one down the stretch. So
or
it's
you get Daniel Jones or something where you're 3 years in and you're shit, does this guy have a job? 2 years?
And then and you don't know what to, so it's just I feel like we project a lot more hope onto quarterbacks as if they're stabler than it's they're stabler if they're good.
When they're prolific.
Yeah. It was Ken Stabler.
Yeah.
Yeah. As
All
if
right,
they're
is it my
Ken
pick?
Stabler.
Having
I
said
don't
all
know.
of that, I'm going to take a quarterback right here. I'm going to take Trey Lance.
All right.
Interesting. Okay.
um, and just for, I think we're at the end of, although I like some of these guys after, I think I'm comfortable taking him still for just the upside. There is obviously, I think we said this before too. His range of outcomes is still very wide. But I will still pick Trey Lance here just for that upside, because I think he can be the way he's built. He has an arm. It's just he needs to get more experience. But he also, profiles as a guy who can really rush the ball, which is great for fantasy purposes. So he at least has that. So he obviously needs to get better, more accurate. But I
I'm about
trust
to
that
give y'all a hot take.
he's gonna be able to maybe grow there. So I'll take him here. What's your hot take,
Yeah.
Shane?
We
Kyle Shanahan is overrated as a head coach.
I've heard that actually a lot. I don't even know if that's a hot take anymore.
I don't know how hot take it is, but especially I like thinking offensively. I feel like he's way overrated than he's actually advertised. He gets his I don't know if it's his staff, if it's him or what. Their defense is solid every single year. They have been for a decade, it feels like. But offensively, if they don't run the ball well, they're screwed. They don't feel like they have a passing game. And we've got to see Lance develop to get that there. And I don't know if Shanahan really is a QB developer, if that makes sense.
Yeah, he hasn't. I'm not sure his track record there.
He's been
Obviously,
with
the
Matt
best
Ryan.
was Matt Ryan the Super Bowl year, right? So like that obviously was a really great passing offense, but that was an established quarterback. So we'll see. Yeah, he definitely needs time. I will say I wouldn't expect Trey Lance to make a gigantic leap next year, but I think it's going to take a little bit more than that. But he's still a talent that I don't mind getting on my team for the upside that he has. Andrew, let's throw it to you, though, for the 110.
Yeah, so I'm going to kind of stick to along the lines of what I was just saying with quarterback and fade it a little bit more, because I could have gone with one of the other guys like a Mac Jones, who I expect to be playing for the Patriots for a while, but I'm going to go with the guy that I really like here and I think shows something special in addition to the other wide receivers we already talked about, and I'm going to go with Elijah Moore. He was the guy who I believe was my number 5. I even wanted to talk myself into having him over Waddle preseason. I think maybe that's a mistake. I firmly have Waddle above him now and the other guys, but Elijah Moore is great. And he had some awesome flashes there kind of mid-season to around week 13 when he went out with an injury. But he's a special type of player, really good player in space. I still think he probably has the best hands in the class. Very good natural pass catcher. So, yeah, all good things about him. And the only reason why we probably don't talk much more about is because there's other guys that are that much better, like the Jamar Chases, and just and the thing I was gonna say when Devonta Smith came up is like these are guys that had what would have been great rookie years like 3 years ago, and now you have people like Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase and Jaylen Waddle coming in and being wide receiver ones year one, and it's just suddenly you're like, well, these other guys, but no, they had great first years. Objectively, it's just there were other guys that have just blown up that much bigger sooner. But I still think the guys like Smith and Elijah Moore are right on a path to being stars as well.
Yeah, if you don't break the rookie receiving record for yards, then you're garbage, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's just get out of here.
You're not breaking records?
I do love Elijah Moore. That's the guy on my list there where it's like you want to take him because I want to be.
I'm not even gonna lie to you.
His growth
until
there,
Drew mentioned Devonta Smith, I was looking at Elijah Moore at the 108 because I forgot about Devonta Smith.
I mean, honestly, like Elijah Moore had third highest average points per game through week 17 at least. this year, and at 12, almost 13 points on that Jets team, which hasn't even figured out their offense, and he was kind of a star, honestly, for a stretch there. He's kind of dealt with injuries. That was kind of the big thing with him, which is why you kind of forget about him a little bit too, Elijah Moore, and why he's not on the same conversation. Like Amon-Ra kind of took over at the end, but Elijah Moore, real great stretch. So Shane, let's start to you with the next pick.
All right, I'm finally taking a quarterback. I am going
welcome
Zach Wilson.
Yeah, all right.
So
shade at Mac Jones.
Not even shade at Mac Jones. We just talked about his number one weapon in Elijah Moore. Love him.
Yeah.
It's true.
I like Michael Carter a lot. I think they've got a really good offensive line, and that's going to be key going forward. I feel like Zach also improved over the end of the year. To where he started throwing fewer picks and more touchdowns, and even I think using his legs a little bit more. So
he did show some interesting rushing,
yeah. So I'm going Zach Wilson here. I feel like at 111, that's a really good value. And kind of like you were saying, Jay, like the conversation between him and Mac Jones for me is mainly weapons. I feel like Elijah Moore and Michael Carter offer more in the passing game than, say, a Kendrick Bourne, Jacoby Myers, Aguilar,
a little bit.
The running backs.
Him and Kendrick Bourne are pretty close, if you ask me. No, the Bourne identity? I mean, come on. He's great.
I was going to have to drug test you there, Jay.
It's the Clockwork Orange is getting to my head, I think.
Yeah, clearly.
A little bit of the Patriots probably need a wide receiver, although I don't trust them to draft one unless they're
I highly doubt that.
Who was the last first round receiver?
N'Keal Harry. Don't want to talk about it. Could have had Debo.
Could have had
or
Debo,
DK,
AJ Brown.
Or AJ Brown.
My God.
Wow. Might have been one of the biggest whiffs.
Fans?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey, back in the playoffs, baby. Us and Mac Jones.
Couldn't keep him out too long.
I like that pick there. Zach Wilson for upside. I do think he started to show steps in the right direction by the end of the year. He did have that 50-yarder too.
Yeah,
scamper for a touchdown. That was a nice. See, he could use his legs a little bit in college, and that hadn't really happened. He's a good athlete, actually. Like not bad. Like he can do that. That's not like. I don't know if you're going to design a million runs for him, but like he can do that. So that was nice to see there for him at the end of the year there. For my pick here, I'm not going to go Mac Jones. I'm going to skip him. He's on my board coming up, but I'm split between kind of three guys here. I'm going to stick, even though his year wasn't great with my not pre-draft, but preseason rankings. I'm going to stick with Rashad Bateman. I really like Rashad Bateman.
That's a good pick. I forgot about that one.
There were glimpses of the greatness of Rashad Bateman this year. It was just few and far between for various reasons. Injured. That team had injuries at quarterback. We saw Josh Johnson and Tyler Huntley. We saw three different quarterbacks this year for that team, so that was not consistent. They really did throw the ball more, too. The big fear with him was that offense was just not going to throw. Not a prolific throwing offense. They run the ball all the time. That could change. It could go back to that, but this year it did not happen. It might have been because all of their running backs got hurt, but they did throw the ball a lot more, which was exciting. But I think he can share. I think he needs to take over that one wide receiver role.
Yes, absolutely.
Over Marquis Brown and share it with Andrews. Andrews ain't going anywhere. That's the guy he's going to be, Travis Kelce of that team. He's going to do what he did this year, but there is room for another thing. Marquis Brown's been kind of underrated, a little sketchy this year just because of kind of what I'm describing about Bateman here, but I think Bateman can step up. I think he's still very smooth, really good. I think the potential's there, so I'm taking more of a potential pick here than what I've seen so far, but I think he can be great going forward. We'll just see if he can amass the volume needed for fantasy purposes in the future, but I really like the talent. So I'm going to go Rashad Bateman there at 112, and I'm going to kick it to you, Andrew, at 113.
All right. This is
not 113, 2-1.
113. This is
it's a 14-team league.
It's a 24-person league. This is all.
Yes.
We're doing one round of a 24.
Correct.
League. Yeah, I'm following. Okay, this is where I feel good taking Mac Jones, who probably until he dipped down in those last few games and Jamar Chase just continued to go on, he was looking like the odds-on rookie of the year with a winning Patriots team. In the end, had almost 4,000 yards, 22 touchdowns, 352 completions. Just a really solid, while also pretty conservative. They had a pretty short leash on him, which we saw to the extreme in that first Bills game where he threw the ball. What did he have? 3 completions and they pretty
attempts,
much,
I think.
yeah, 3
Super
attempts. Okay, yeah. So I was even overestimating. He's someone who feels like he can be a very good system player for the Patriots for years. This is where we can look at more of that longevity QB2 type of player. And against the rest of the board, I think this is where I'm fine taking him and taking that more safe asset for my team against the other pieces that I can get. There's plenty of other players, obviously, in this class that I still like, but I think this is where I would slot in Mac Jones.
Yep, don't hate Mac Jones there, just especially for Superflex. He definitely stable. I think that's what he provides the most. Is like that guy ain't losing his job anytime soon. I think that would.
Yeah.
I think that's one of his biggest pluses. Is that like I think he
and maybe they open it up for a little more
while,
creativity.
Sure.
So that there might be some more of that upside we would hope for. But if he keeps kind of playing the way he did this year, it's like it's gonna be a nice little like kind of cornerstone piece, like as your maybe QB2 if you went strong other places, or like a really great QB3 in your lineup that can come in and hold down the bye weeks for you.
Oh, for sure. All right,
like that.
202, Shane. What do you got here?
That's a tough one. It's a real tough one. I am going
Just
to
punt
go.
the pick. Just
No, I'm not punting the pick. I'm gonna go with Pat Fryermuth.
Ooh, nice.
I like it.
Tight
Wait
end
for
premium.
Josh's comment.
Josh
Tight end
just
premium
passed
is the inspiration for that. Yeah, Josh probably is.
Josh's last comment was bolt up. Like we haven't talked about the Chargers at all.
I don't remember talking about the Chargers. But Josh Palmer? Did someone pick
Josh
him?
Palmer. There we go. Larry Roundtree. You're welcome.
Josh Palmer. All right, bolt up. There we go.
Just keep showing that comment every time. It's like apropos of nothing.
I'm gonna go Fryermuth because if Kyle Pitts wasn't in this class when we first drafted it, Fryermuth is talked about as potential tight end 1
I
for
thought exactly. Yeah.
the
Sure,
future. He showed a lot of touchdown upside, which I know isn't a predictable stat. But I think the weapons that they have on that team and getting a new quarterback, he can really only go up, even if it's just incrementally year by year, as tight ends do.
Oh, for sure. We've said it before on the show, even I think that Pitts isn't in the class. You're talking about him in a different light. Yeah, totally. He's the tight end 1 of multiple classes that when you go back. But he just happened to be in the same one as Kyle Pitts, which is just a whole different thing.
So I'm going to show my fandom a bit here for the 2023 class. I feel like it's going to be the same thing about Michael Meyer from Notre Dame.
Oh,
okay.
So
I do like he's very good right now.
Yeah, he's very
good
right now. So I could see him talked about in a similar light as Pitts. Which would make any other tight ends in that class kind of
right.
Fryermuth if there's one that could be a tight end 1. So
yeah, what was Cole Kmet was the number 1 the year and it's like Fryermuth's better than that, and he was like the de
I still
facto
like
one
Kmet.
that year. I mean, it's not even a knock
I don't
on
even
him.
know-
It's just
well,
sort of like Freiermuth
I
is
don't even know if
like,
Kmet was the de facto one.
was
feel
it
like there
was
was a-
him, Troutman. It was like 3 or
Troutman.
4, like, but none, you didn't really love any of them. Like they were,
It felt like a toss-up, and it really got shook up once
I think
the
Kmet
NFL
went
draft
one
happened, because
He went
in
round 2
our
to the
drafts.
Bears. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
got
but
it.
I think he went one, the first tight end, I will say, not in the first
Got
round,
it.
the first tight end
Yeah.
off the board in the drafts I was in.
but I feel like they all landed behind like other tight ends.
Oh,
Like,
Kmet,
yes.
they had like 9 tight ends on the Bears. They still
yeah,
did.
Well,
still have Graham, right?
Well, Jimmy Graham still gets brought in to catch a touchdown here and there. That's kind of what he does. But yeah, no, I like Freiermuth. I have him top 10 in my startup rankings for tight end. I think I had
he's
him
my
like
number 8.
7 because I was just like, I'm in on Freiermuth. He's young. Tight end's a wasteland anyways. When you get to a certain point, why not Pat Freiermuth?
Okay, I'm gonna toot my own horn again, real quick. In that dynasty mock that I did, took George Kittle, and then like 2 rounds later, I think I took Hawkinson because I was just like, suck it. I'm gonna have 2 top
I'll take
5
the
picks.
last of this tier, whatever,
Yeah.
Like goodbye.
So, well, in my
Sometimes
thinking,
it's better to withhold them from and maybe you have a 12 personnel fantasy roster to go
when
with.
someone
So,
has Cole Kmet and Jonnu Smith as their 2, they're not going to feel great about that. 'Cause I know how that feels.
I feel like one of my rosters has that. I don't know.
Feel empty and alone.
It doesn't feel good. No.
No, I'm gonna go with the guy here. Ah, man, I really, I thought I was gonna take Amon-Ra in this draft, but I'm gonna go upside with the guy who probably felt empty this year. He didn't play. I'm gonna go with Travis Etienne here.
It was when I was wondering when
pick,
he would go.
Son of a bitch.
Just because I think he has untapped. I don't know what Travis Etienne is in the NFL because he hasn't played. So I'm going to take the mystery box here of a guy who was unbelievable in college, and was at least the 3rd best running back. If you had him behind Javonte and Naji here. Love his talent. I think he can certainly produce from a fantasy perspective in the NFL. We'll see how he gets used on that team next year. We were hoping he would get used in sort of have some PPR value this year because they were kind of using him that way in preseason. Obviously, new coaching staff coming in here, but familiarity with the quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. So I would take the gamble here, even though Amon-Ra was so good. And some other guys here that are still on the board here had good years this year. I'm going to take the untapped potential of Travis Etienne here.
You want to hear a kind of funny story
with my
about
pick?
Etienne?
Sure.
So my birthday is coming up next week. And 2 years ago, it was the deadline for players to declare for the draft. You want to know what the worst birthday present I got that year was? Travis Etienne declaring to go back to school. That son of a bitch. I had a top 3 pick in our home league rookie draft, and I was like, I'm getting Etienne because, like, whoever's going to the Chiefs is going 1. Whoever doesn't, so Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift, someone like that's going to be 2, and then I'm getting Etienne at 3, and then the mother trucker went back to school.
He did.
So what did you end up with that pick?
J.K. Dobbins.
It was going to be
That's
injury
good.
no
That's
matter
good.
what. Huh?
Also an injury. Neither of them was going to play this year.
Well,
for you,
what's
so.
funny is I took Etienne at the 4 in this year's draft, so then I had Dobbins and Etienne on IR all year.
Oh, very nice.
So really, now you have the number 1 pick this year. So
No, I actually ended up with the 4.
So you could take, I don't know.
I don't
if
have
you want a
my own
running
draft
back, I don't know, Kenneth Walker. You could maybe take a 4 or
maybe.
depends how your draft goes. I mean, Spiller, I don't know. It depends. This draft's totally up in the air. It could
It's
go
so
anyway.
weird.
It'll be interesting. Andrew, let's get some more picks in here. We're at over the hour mark here, so we'll get a few more picks in here. Rapid fire. Not too much breakdown, but give me a pick here at what are we at here? The 20.
This is the 116.
Of the 16 team league. Yes.
116.
204.
I am gonna go with Amon-Ra here. He might be one of the bigger risers in this class for me because down the stretch from week 13 to 18, he was the number 1 rookie. He really showed what he can do. I know that there's not much else there in Detroit, especially with Hawkinson down and DeAndre Swift for a good portion of that down.
I feel like that was so overblown.
But I don't really hold that against it, because I feel like it can be a detriment to be the only target there. The defense, because that was the whole thing with Hawkinson early on. He's the only guy there. And
we use it both ways. Like, when you don't like a guy, you're like, it's overrated. And then when you like a guy, you're like, wow, who else is the defense going to cover? And it's like, well, which way does it work?
Yeah, I mean, very convenient arguments. But I love that. Yeah, he was a guy that coming out, like we said, we gave him 7s out of 10 across the board. He feels above average at everything. And Detroit kind of showed that they were on top of his other skills, willing to use him in creative ways with different like rushing plays. And one way or another, they were getting him involved. And I like seeing that. I like that for his future potential. And when those other players come back and maybe they bring in another big receiver, a more true number 1. I'm going to finish my point before I read that. I like that opening things up, sort of similar to the point I made with Chicago with Mooney. I like someone like Garrett Wilson landing there and opening things up further for a riser like Mooney. I think Amon-Ra can only be benefited by more talent being around him and opening up for a more creative and Dan Campbell's just going to go nuts there. He obviously likes his guy Amon-Ra. So, go Lions. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Josh, you assume defenses know who to cover, but then there's the Vikings. Yes, that's true. The Vikings
we talked about that.
Can't argue with that, yeah.
So know who to cover.
We did talk about
Game on the line in the end zone. Why? Yeah, whatever. Don't cover anybody. It's fine. Don't cover anybody. All right, let's get to our next pick. Shane.
Michael Carter.
Nice.
Michael Carter, running back for the
like
Jets. Yeah, I think he's here to stay. I feel like there's a similar argument about talent there. But as the season progressed until he got hurt, he was taking over that backfield. When he comes back, he immediately stepped back into the volume that he had or was billed prior. So give me Michael Carter. I love this at the 205.
I like it too. Michael Carter, really PPR floor there too, a little bit there. They were throwing the ball a lot to him. So he had a really good season once again for an offense that, not a great offense, and a guy that was able to stand out a bit.
But I think one of the other points that we made too with that also goes back to Zach Wilson is we'd like to see him take the easy target more often, and you don't have to hero ball it, and it's like Michael Carter can be that easy ball. It's like dump it off from set up screens with that guy and make it happen.
Josh, shut up.
You can. Don't tip
Josh
off
is picking my next pick, but I mean,
bastard.
Josh, great point though. Trey Sermon's still on the board, which is weird. I mean, I thought
as he should.
I'll keep that in mind.
Unfortunately.
But Josh, with this comment, Carter over Elijah, my pick here is Elijah Mitchell at the 206. A guy that
Elijah Mitchell.
6th round draft pick in the NFL, but man, took that job from Trey Sermon and never looked back. And but despite some injuries where he would come off the field, he was fantastic for them every time and really got the majority share of work there, which was the impressive part, and kept it every time he came back, which was also promising to see. A guy who had a concussion, a little knee thing, but anytime he was healthy, he got all the carries and even could do a little bit in the PPR game. So he's interesting because it's like you don't know if the longevity is there, but you got to ride with it. I think he will be their starter day one next year.
Yeah.
How long it lasts, I don't know. I mean, you're kind of like, who cares? Like, I mean, it's kind of like, it's all gravy at this point. Like, I mean, he was the 6th round draft pick, so like, ride it out, man. Chris Carson was good for multiple years for Seattle, so if a team finds a reliable running back, they'll stick with it at cheap money too. So
yeah, definitely.
So I think you got a few years out of him. So I like Elijah Mitchell here at 206. Andrew, give us a rapid fire here real fast. Let's go through.
Obviously, I'm going to
see
go
how
with,
many picks we could get here. 207.
I'm going to obviously go with my favorite running back in this class, the big
Trey
boy. No, I'm not going with Trey Sermon. I'm going with Ramondre Stevenson, another pretty good riser. Things are a little crowded in that backfield between him, Damian Harris, who's another really good but sort of silently good player, and then even Brandon Bolden knocking it out when called upon. So I don't know if Damian Harris stays there, but if things clear up a little bit more, I kind of like the stability and the team for Ramondre, and he's just fun to watch. So that's it.
He is very fun to watch, and and he's on our favorite team. So Shane, what do you got here at the 2-0?
I'm probably forgetting people like I forgot Eli Mitchell, but I'm going quarterback with Superflex. Davis Mills.
Oh, that was going to be my pick.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you.
Okay, cool. He was someone that I was taking shots at late drafts last year, and then when he finally got to start this year, I feel like, I mean, hell, he was almost the second best rookie quarterback this year behind Mac.
Yeah.
He had 3 games over 20 points, and no one else could say that.
Yeah, so I think that Houston's got something here if they can ever get rid of Deshaun Watson and figure out that dramatic saga. But yeah, give me Davis Mills here.
I love the Davis Mills pick. I mean, Superflex take a shot on him. Just real surprising, and it's just whether he keeps it's just like dicey whether he stays the quarterback. Because who knows?
Yeah. Because he's unfortunately in that position, being more of a day 2 quarterback, that he feels more likely that given the opportunity, Houston wouldn't hesitate to just move on to something better. Whereas other teams are less likely to do that with their first round prospects.
Yeah,
but
that's
again, if he continues to kind of provide that what he did this year and continue to improve and get rid of maybe some of those early season jitters that he had, I think he could be a sneaky good option over there in Houston.
Yeah, 209 for me. Davis Mills was going to be my pick there. You're in an area here where
it's weird.
It's not guaranteed futures anywhere. I'm going to take a year that was okay for filling in for CMC. I'm going to take Chuba Hubbard here. I think he's showed that he can play in the league. Okay. So I think he's a guy who could bounce around a bit. I don't know if he's not going to lock down Carolina's job anytime soon, just because CMC I would expect to, I don't know, be healthier maybe in the future, but I think Chuba Hubbard can play. I think it's a low ceiling on Chuba Hubbard, but I think he can play, which when you get to this part of these drafts, especially when you look back years, that's all you're going to probably get in these ranges. But I think Chuba Hubbard showed he was okay, so I would take him around this point, back end second round. Andrew, what do you got here with your last pick of the night?
Yeah, that's an interesting one because I almost forgot to even put Chuba in here. I've got a group of 4 wide receivers that I think are interesting upside at this point, and I'm going to go with the guy that we had preseason hire. I'm going with Rondale Moore for the upside there. Pretty crowded. I think he performed to our expectations because he's sitting out there with DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Kirk, and AJ Green, who is kind of another fantasy zombie, showed a little bit more life than we thought, but he's not a future concern for Rondale Moore, and I don't think those other guys necessarily are either. I'm looking to see Rondale Moore get far more involved, and we can see some of that real dynamic play and upside that we hope for him based on his Purdue tape.
Shane, 211.
Jay, you inspired me with the backup running back role that could potentially bounce around and be a third down back or scat back, but also lead a team in carries if their lead back goes down.
Javian Hawkins?
No, but I liked Javian Hawkins pre-draft, but no. Kenny Gainwell.
Kenny Gainwell.
Gainwell, yeah. He was close for me.
Yeah, so I like Gainwell a lot. I think he's really shifty. And don't know what Sirianni does with his running backs. Maybe they play rock, paper, scissors before each game to see who's going to actually start and get touches.
I think they do.
But it's very interesting. So I'd either like to see Sanders get out of Philly and open up the door for Gainwell, or Gainwell get out of there. Because I don't trust Sirianni from a running back standpoint when it comes to volume, because we don't ever know what he's going to do.
No, for sure. Boston Scott this year, Jordan Howard, lots of carries, Miles Sanders, and Kenny Gainwell. I think Kenny Gainwell at least showed he can be a PPR back, which is good. And on my pick with Chuba, I completely skipped Rondale on my list, so I would have taken Rondale over Chuba Hubbard.
Oh yeah, I was a little surprised.
And my last pick, I'm going to round it out with our favorite. Well, Josh, once again, stealing my pick, Josh.
Yeah.
Kadarius Toney is going to be my last pick here. I think I'm at a territory here where I'm between a few guys. There's Terrace Marshall, who we had higher up, but
I thought about
had
him
a
too.
disastrous season that is going to sit in my head for a while in terms of just being a healthy scratch for that team. Kadarius Toney, if that guy could ever stay healthy, I think there's some upside in terms of like what he can bring to the table for fantasy purposes. But it's just
him being a head case.
Yeah, it's a lot going on there. He punched a guy this year.
Sucker punch was ridiculous.
Just
I'm
a lot.
worried about him
which
being
is,
a head case and that organization in general.
Yeah, and the organization. Some concerns
they did
there.
get rid of Judge, which didn't seem like it was going to happen, but
that was good.
Even still, a change in coaching staff doesn't necessarily mean that someone coming in is going to be like, we're going to get Toney more involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of talent, I will say, and could be influx of there could be change-ups in sort of the guys that are in there from the wide receiver perspective and things like that. So it's just an interesting team. It's not interesting. It's like kind of gross, but if Josh is correct here in the comments and they hire Adam Gase, then
quarterback whisperer, get him
just
in there.
Can we relegate that team? Because that would be
that
team just does not deserve to be in the NFL
Josh
anymore.
Just tried to kill me.
They could go play in the XFL. Other guys in the mix there for me, I think that are interesting still guys in this class, just to round out our show here. Nico Collins, I think
Nico
did
a
little bit more than he needed. You would have thought, I guess, for the
Josh
little bit
Palmer
of a
was
disaster.
interesting.
Yeah, had some good,
Jordan,
good stuff. Brevin Jordan did more than I thought. Yeah, I wasn't a big Brevin Jordan guy. Jared Patterson, I liked what I saw from Jared Patterson.
That's a good one too.
And the stretches that he played, and we liked him anyways, just because I think he's a really good back. He's just so small, and it doesn't necessarily catch passes, but I think he's a good running back. So we'll see what the future holds for him. Those are like the most interesting guys to me. You guys have any other names you want?
I don't think there's any other quarterbers, right?
There's Trask and Mond, and Kellen Mond should just retire after the comments that were made about him and him not playing for Sean Mannion the other night. I don't know how you come back from that.
That was damning.
That wasn't great. Kyle Trask, we didn't see really any of him except for kneeling, I think, in some games this year when Brady came out. But yeah, I don't know if there's any. We'll see if anybody surprises. But for me, I think we hit on all the guys.
Jay, can I give you my deep flyer, and you should know who it is?
Yes, go. Give me your deep flyer.
Seth Williams.
Oh God, no!
What? Cut that.
He did have a 50-50 ball catch in the finale of the year, which he does once every 20 catches. He's not even that good at contested catches.
That is inaccurate.
I think
he had like a 30% contested catch rate in college.
I think his season is basically our the way we projected him: a season as a ghost and one good catch.
Yes, that's exactly a healthy scratch practice squad, and
that was that was Auburn versus Alabama.
That's about right. Jalen Darden's interesting. Josh put that in the chat. Tylan Wallace, I love Tylan Wallace coming in.
He liked him, but I saw him once. I saw a nice catch. I'm like, oh, who was that? It's like, oh, it was Wallace. I remember liking him.
Yeah, Seth Williams doesn't like football, so that's a problem. No one on Auburn. Does anybody on Auburn like football? I mean, I don't know.
All right, Josh, I'm not coming back on when you get back.
Bo Nix famously hated football.
He liked it so much that he left Auburn for another team. But Tank Bigsby stayed, so that's good.
Yeah. I would have also gone with the number 1 2021 Auburn wide receiver Anthony Schwartz.
That was another good one actually.
He's fast. But does Trey Lawrence, does Trey Sermon, not Trey Lawrence, Trey Sermon make like your top 36 now? I mean, does he even does he go in the 4th round of a draft now? You do this class over again? I don't even know.
Seth over Trey.
I mean, I don't know if I'd go that far.
Yeah, we're in hyperbolic.
But maybe.
No, I mean Trey Sermon is literally just a lot it's just a lottery ticket at this point. Like, can he land somewhere else? Like, I don't know. But we didn't get to see anything out of him. So what's there?
He is a running back, so I we've seen look at the running backs that sometimes produce that you would never expect, like Jarrell Williams. Like, I mean, what would you ever expect?
Yeah, it's true. Sometimes these guys can bust.
And that guy's like 10 times better than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So I mean, so that's great. Shane also loves CH, but we love CH too.
Oh man.
Especially Andrew.
I talked so much trash about CEH this year.
That's all right. Well, that's a good place to wrap it up.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave the show
all right.
now.
Shade.
All right.
Done.
Let's throw it around. We'll give you the first crack at this, Shane. Give us some final plugs, some parting words tonight. Thanks for joining the show again, filling in for Josh. It was fun doing this draft with you, but where can we find you and what do you got going on?
Thank you, sir, and thank you for having me on again. I will obviously come on anytime that you guys need or want. You guys can follow me on Twitter at FFShaneB. I am a writer and co-founder for the FF Collective, which is FF_Collective, KOLLECTIV. Host of the Fantasy Nightcap podcast, where you can find that show as well as the Fantasy Boardroom and Collective Knowledge. I will also be a Dynasty writer. Sort of. I have one more piece coming out for Going for Two as a Dynasty writer. Me and Nate Polvote, who is actually a Dynasty writer for the Collective, are collabing on a multi-site, kind of like this wrap-up article on the 2021 rookies.
So awesome. Look forward to that. Andrew, where can we find you?
Yeah, at Drewc_music. That's the Instagram and Twitter handle. And also, if you want to find other music for my band Ghosts in the Snow, we do the music. That's the theme song to this podcast. Find everything through ghostinthesnow.com. That'll lead you to the Facebooks, Instagrams, and the streaming sites like Bandcamp, Apple Music, Spotify, whichever one you use, it's on there. You can find our music.
Awesome. And you can find me at JC_DFF on Twitter. I do some writing for Going for Two as well. Dynasty content there. Also doing the Fantasy Cheat Sheet podcast, which we did during the year. We're going to do some off-season stuff for that podcast for Going for Two Live Network. Check that out in the off-season. We'll be announcing that soon. And you can find me here on this weekly show with the Brothers of Dynasty. So for you guys, for Andrew, for Shane, once again, thanks, Shane, for joining us. Josh should be back next week unless he just stays in Disney World. Or
why would he leave?
Or just, follows the Jaguars around as he follows Trevor Lawrence's
That's
career.
why he's really down there. That's why he's been so secretive. He's not in Disney. He's following around.
Yeah,
Trevor
he's in
Lawrence
Jacksonville. He's in Jacksonville.
It all makes sense now.
But so keep tabs on that. Josh, Trevor Lawrence, they are connected for life here. But thanks for joining us. Catch us next week on our next show, and we will check you out then. See you guys.